A quick introduction to Digital Realty, in case you do not know us. We're a leading global colocation provider with more than 300 data centers in more than 50 cities around the world. In Europe, we also have a strong presence. For example, in Amsterdam, if I counted correct, we operate 14 different data centers at the moment. In Europe, a lot of people still know us as Interaction, but this brand name doesn't exist anymore. We're now Digital Realty. So let's start by observing this internet map that telegeography produces. This shows various cities and the IP flows among those cities. And this is the 2017 version of this map, zoomed in Europe, but it's a similar situation in other regions as well. So what it is pretty obvious when you first look at this map is that this is dominated by 4 cities in the middle. It's Frankfurt, London, Amsterdam, and Paris, and with a lot of flows among those 4 cities. However, if we look at the same map, the 2022 version, we still see those cities with those very large circles. But now we can also see that there are some other cities that are relevant, medium or large circles here in the map. And this is exactly what I'm going to discuss today. The fact that what we see here, that we expect that this trend will also continue in the future, that more and more the regional cities will play a more and more significant role as local hubs, and this will also affect, of course, the traffic that flows across the region. I will skip this one. So if we want to look at the reasons why the landscape is changing, well, obviously, first of all, it is the changes that we see in cloud computing and CDNs. Cloud traditionally prefers to reside within core locations where economies of scale work best and where a lot of infrastructure is there. But for various reasons, like data sovereignty, edge computing, performance, etc., we see more and more of them building edge nodes or cloud nodes, not at the edge, but at least towards the edge. So, let's say in a regional level. For example, in 2022, AWS alone announced its plan to expand in the 32 new locations worldwide, and this is a huge number. And of course, where a cloud provider builds a regional POP, then this creates an avalanche of investments, not only from connectivity providers that try to support this new POP, but also from other service providers and enterprises that live close to this new ecosystem. And needless to say, this also affects what we call middle mile, which is the data centers and the local internet exchanges. Similar things with CDNs. We also see them expanding more and more to the cloud. Of course, the effect is not so big as with cloud, but it also adds up. Second factor is edge computing. More and more processing and data storage happens near the edge. And this is to address the needs of Internet of Things, gaming, AI, etc. And of course, this affects cloud and CDNs as well, as we already discussed, because they are also trying to facilitate edge computing. But also, it has a very big impact on the connectivity. And this doesn't only apply to last mile, as you would expect, 5G or fiber to the home, but also has a significant impact on the backhauling. And actually here, we notice a shift in the paradigm of connectivity. It's no longer just edge to the core, but also we see a lot of activity between edge sites. last but not least, it is AI. Everybody is anticipating AI with a lot of excitement and a little bit of fear. And the same applies for us as well. We do not know exactly how AI will transform the landscape, but for sure, we expect a very big surge, and I'm talking about an order of magnitude bigger in data center capacity and connectivity. So this is something that will have a big impact. So to summarize, here, going back to this map, what we see is that more and more data center capacity is required at all levels, at the core, of course, but also regional and city levels. And more the workload will become more and more distributed. And this, of course, has an effect on the flows of traffic, because we see more and more that new routes that bypass the core, that are more optimized, have low latency, and more bandwidth, are needed between all those hubs. And actually, this is so strong that it applies not only on the primary path, let's say, of those routes, but also on the backup path. And how does our company respond to all this, to this new landscape? First of all, we do the obvious. We build as much as possible. We have hundreds of megawatts coming online within the next months or years, and we are expanding in new markets. And but even more, we keep a close eye on the developments, on the demand, but also on the developments to see how demand is evolving, and make sure that we will be able to deliver in a timely manner. Of course, building data centers has no real value unless there is a sufficient connectivity substrate. So for this reason, we work very, very closely with all kinds of connectivity providers in the international part, like subsea carriers, tier ones, but also on the local part where we connect the eyeballs, local ISPs, last mile providers, internet exchanges, of course, in order to make sure that our data centers are able to deliver the value that the customer needs. But this also works the other way around. There are often cases where providers, for example, subsea operators, come to us and say that, look, we have an interest in this area. We see a lot of potential, but there is no good enough data center for us there to land the cable. We need a data center of appropriate quality and open and neutral, so that we know that when we land our cable there, we will be able to meet all the other players that we need in order for our cable to be able to connect its traffic. And what is obvious for us is that, and we have a very clear strategy here, is that we need to find a model where we have a model where we try to cooperate as much as possible with all those connectivity providers. For us, we do what we can do best, is build data centers, which are neutral and open, and then we cooperate with the most relevant providers in each region, so that they will be able to provide their service and value to our customers. And of course, we work as much as possible with any kind of communities that work towards the good of the internet in the region, like IXPs, like associations like EuroIX, initiatives like PeeringDB, etc. We try to talk as much as possible. We try to sponsor as much as possible, so that the entire ecosystem will grow. Another thing that became apparent several years ago is that our data centers are not just independent dots on the map. It is an interconnected ecosystem, and from a strategy point of view, we need to consider it as an ecosystem that together provides the value to our customers. And a significant part of, we call this platform digital, and a significant component of platform digital is what we call Service Fabric. And Service Fabric is an SDN network, which practically is a fabric that connects our customers with the service providers. And by service providers, I'm talking about cloud providers, internet exchanges, ISPs, carriers, anti-DDoS services, or anything else that you could imagine. So Service Fabric aligns perfectly with our strategy here because, as I said before, we do not want to be us who will be providing this kind of services, but we need to provide a way for our customers to meet the appropriate service providers in this area. Apart from that, Service Fabric is an SDN network, as I mentioned. It is fully automated. It has the appropriate APIs that will help you to integrate to your own network. It is simple, it is secure, it is elastic, it is flexible. It has all those properties that you would expect from such a platform. One last thing before I close is that we always keep developing Service Fabric, and one of the latest additions here is what we call Service Directory, which is practically a directory where the service provider can list their services, and they can do this for free. And through this, our clients around the world will be able to have immediate visibility to the services that they provide. So if you are a service provider, maybe you should, I believe that you should be interested in the Service Fabric and our Service Directory offering. I will be here until tomorrow. I would be glad to provide more details. And with that, I will hand over to Henrik for the second part, and we will take questions at the end.
Thank you. Okay, are we on? Yes? I can't hear myself. Oh, no, I can. Okay, good. So, Henrik, Jensen, I come from Denmark. Usually have a very pragmatic approach to at least what I perceive as being reality. So we hear about all these data centers popping up, Amazon building new. We know that Google, Meta, they are all doing it. And they're doing it because we are, as a species, creating an enormous amount of data. Within the last years, data sets or databases, or call them whatever you want, data has grown. And it's growing all the time. We see on the internet, I don't know what the growth rate is at the moment, but anywhere between 30 and 70% per year is the average growth rate. And that is after we have done all the caching we can do to keep data as localized as possible. We don't really want to transport data into the Caribbean if we can cache it there locally. Netflix came along 20 years ago. There was a bomber. They created an enormous boom in traffic. Well, for some of us, that's good. For Ciena, obviously, we try to create the equipment needed for it. Yes, that is good. But for us, generally speaking, it's actually not that good that data grows that much. Also, some data sets, they get refreshed all the time. And the internet community has recently, over the last couple of years, made a new kind of data very popular. That is streaming telemetry. Streaming telemetry. So from our routers, we get all these statistics all the time. But you know what? It's nothing. We have here an example, 60 petabytes per month of streaming telemetry coming in. That was last year. That was before this little company made an enormous amount of cars, more cars, and sold them. And all these cars, they generate telemetry that they send in all the time, and it needs to be analyzed. They need to analyze it in the cloud. And you can see here some numbers for how long time it actually takes to transport 60 petabytes into a cloud. At 400 gig, it'll take you 14 days. Non-stop, no break. That was last year. So more cars. So this year it's probably not 60. This year it's probably 120 petabytes. That means you can't really do it in a month. And this is just one car manufacturer, just one of them. There's quite a number of much bigger car manufacturers out there that have started doing this, collecting telemetry from the cars, and it might be from bicycles soon. Why? Because we want to do preemptive spare parts manufacturing, preemptive scheduling of your next service. Because we know, because your car has told us, and our AI has now told us that your car will probably need to go in, not next month, but Monday, because something will break. So we, as an industry, are now facing more and more data that we need to help the owners of that data get into the cloud. So what can you do? Well, Amazon, they will offer a snowball. If you don't have that much data, they'll offer you a snowball. 50 terabytes. You can put 50 terabytes in a snowball, and then you can send it by US mail or whoever is along, DHL or somebody, to your local Amazon data center, and they'll put it in the cloud. If you have more data than that, and we do, they can offer you a snowmobile. That is a 40-foot container filled with hard drives. It takes 100 petabytes. You fill it up with data. It's probably going to take you a few days. Then a truck will come and collect it and drive it to the nearest Amazon website or data center, and it's in the cloud in a few days. Again, that's not ideal. If I was a big car manufacturer, I would want one of you to put in a fiber in my building. Make sure it's future-proof. So I don't want 400 gig. 400 gig, that'll get me through the next half year. After that, I'll have too much data. Or maybe I have some kind of a SAP database that I want to move from one cloud to another cloud. I don't know, something like that. And all of a sudden, I have a problem because I don't have enough bandwidth. What are you going to do about it? I know that some of the big old incumbents, they'll just say, well, you just order a new circuit, and we'll install it whenever we have time. That was when I was born. The world worked like that. The world doesn't work like that anymore. We want it now. We are like all kids. We want it now. Okay, so you got to put something in that can scale securely, and do it now. And okay, well, then now we are onto the marketing slides, because that's obviously, as a sponsor, where we want to get something out of this. So, Ciena. Ciena has been known for years to be a leader in the optical transport business. So now we have optical transport, wavelength systems, what have you not, big waves, small waves. Now we have soon to be 1.6 terabyte waves. And a 1.6 terabyte wave will probably serve one of these big customers until the end of 24, maybe early 25, before they'll start to panic and want more. That means actually you will have to put in a line system at that customer and get multiple big waves through to your data center, your cloud. Also, we've introduced a fair bit of routers, encryption, all that kind of stuff in our portfolio lately. And basically, I'm calling for action. I'm calling for you to go out and get those customers, get them now, and get them connected and offer them a long-term solution to their growing data transport needs. For instance, the Danish government just decided yesterday that they're going to invest 15 billion euros in windmills out of the North Sea. That is super green, like whoa. But it's also going to generate an enormous amount of streaming telemetry. Every single windmill will, every single second, send hundreds of parameters, data points back. And there's going to be thousands and thousands of windmills. You won't be able to navigate the North Sea anymore, more or less, without hitting a windmill. So we need elastic, high-capacity scale. Yes, we need something. Maybe the customer is not willing to pay for 1.6 terabyte. But maybe you can offer the customer something really old, something really old-fashioned, which was en vogue when I was younger. I see there's a few other guys here and a few women that have a little bit of gray hair. When we were younger, there was a service called Frame Relay. Somebody might remember it. This is around the time of ATM and stuff like that. So Frame Relay, you have a committed sort of base, transmitting rate, and then you can peak. Wow. And there were some really smart people that said, we'll sell this sort of like base connectivity. We'll sell that at a base fee. It might be a little bit more expensive than if you only buy that. But then, because it's a little bit more expensive, you can actually peak. You can go way higher. And when you do go way higher, we'll charge you a little bit extra per bit. And if you get that right, it's a fantastic business opportunity to make a lot more money from those